Greetings, I am Sean Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and this week on Star Wars Rebels, we got an episode that focused solely on Zeb. The Legends of Lasat. The return of Hondo Ohnaka, which was awesome to see him again on the screen, sends Ezra and the crew all to rescue some refugees, which turned out to be Lasat, the remaining member of Zeb's planet. Zeb had no idea they existed. He was under the impression that he was the last remaining Lasat. And thus begins a fairly straightforward episode with a lot of payoff in the end. And I think that's something that's really great to see, because in season one there were a couple of what you would assume were throwaway episodes that really built into the season later on, and I feel like this is that episode. This is an episode that's going to build to a lot of what's going to happen just in small little things, and even in the episode it just was a slow build to a really great payoff. And there are times in this episode you're like, okay, get on with it, and when it finally gets to it, the end, nearing those last 5 to 10 minutes, it really picks up with just gorgeous music, gorgeous visuals, and just a really heartwarming story to end it all. And that was really great that they put this episode together and they built it the way they did. Last week we got kind of a Sabine-centric episode that had a lot of Kanan backstory in it as well. And this week it is Zeb. There's little tidbits of the other characters, kind of Ezra and his relation with Hondo. The other characters show a little bit, especially as there's a little bit revealed about the Force and talking about the Force. You got some Kanan and Ezra in that. But above all, this is Zeb. This is Zeb's episode. And we know Zeb was a warrior, that, he fought hard and tried, in the battles on Lasat they were wiped out by the Empire. And now we're seeing, him, that he's carried this burden, that he has this blame on himself, that, he's the reason that it happened. And now that he's seen people alive, there's a lot that's coming out from it. And there's this whole prophecy about finding their new planet, and kind of him willing to embrace that. And you see that through that there's another, that the Force goes by different names, that it exists out there, that other races have embraced it and used it in different ways. And we see that, and that's really cool the way it is used. There's even a moment where Zeb is basically just letting everything control as he's moving towards the planet, controlling and not in his own power. And then Ezra and Kanan have their hands on his back and using the Force. And it was really some touching scenes with it. And as a whole, it's just great to see Zeb grow. I've talked about how much I enjoy Zeb as a character. Steve Bloom, the actor who does his voice, is fantastic. And it's great to see him get these episodes. I know we're supposed to get another kind of Zeb-centric episode in a couple of weeks, which is really cool. And as a whole, it's really nice to see him as a character branch out a bit and be able to grow. We saw a lot of growth from Sabine and Kanan last episode, and now we're seeing more of Zeb, and it's cool to get the characters growing. Hopefully we get some Hera growth soon, and then as we move into what is expected to be a lot of Ezra and Kanan at the end of this season. So it's cool to see the other characters getting some time. Where this episode really excels is something I don't think we've really seen in the show before, and that is seeing both with the just epic and amazing music as on top of the visuals. They reach this anomaly, and as they're trying to go through to reach this new planet for the Lasat, there's just this amazing string music that starts playing that feels just epic on so many levels, and then the visuals are beautiful, and you're just getting like sensory overload with the music and the everything that looks, and it's the colors and everything, and it's just beautiful. And it's something they haven't really done a ton in the show, and I really appreciate it. And from that point on, like that, once the music really starts, and if you watch the episode, then once the music starts at the end, you're like, this episode's great. From that point on, like, there's a lot of building, and it builds to this, and it works perfectly. And I loved that aspect of this this entire episode, and it was really great to see. I think as a whole, this episode did everything I really wanted a Zeb episode to do. Was it a perfect episode? No. Does it have a little bit of flaws? Yeah. I felt like it's a little boring in the early part. The other characters outside of Ezra don't really play a huge role in this, other than just to move the plot. It's kind of getting frustrating that every time we see Agent Callus, they beat him. It's like, if he's going to be this villain that they're going to see almost every episode, it'd be nice if he won one for once. But as a whole, this episode works, and it really does build Zeb up, and I really enjoyed that. And so I think that as the season is moving forward and what we hope it's moving towards from the trailer, this was a really good start to that as we got budding off of last week's episode, that we have these two kind of side characters building, as Sabine and Zeb building up their character arcs, but using it in kind of a little bit of a darker tone as a whole, and everything goes forward. So that was really cool. So what did you guys think? Did you enjoy this episode? Do you enjoy seeing them focus on Zeb a little bit? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I am Shawn Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and may the Force be with you always.